U.S. security officials raised the possibility of North Korea engaging in critical military action in the coming month, given its words and actions that have grown increasingly threatful in recent days. Lawmaker Bae Hyun-jin, who was attacked by a teenager with a rock on Thursday, is now being treated in hospital. A police investigation is underway as political circles go over their options to prevent violence against lawmakers ahead of the general election campaign following a series of attacks targeting politicians. The 2024 Youth Winter Olympics in Gangwon are at their halfway point. We take a look at inspiring young athletes from around the world who are making history. It's January 26, 2024. This is Newscenter. Good evening. Thank you for joining us. I'm Yoon Jung-min. We begin with warnings coming from U.S. security officials who raised the possibility of North Korea engaging in critical military action in the coming month. Now, this as the regime's words and actions have grown increasingly threatful in recent days. Choi Min-jung covers this outlook and more.
U.S. officials say North Korea could take some form of lethal military action against South Korea in the coming months. Quoting White House Deputy National Security Advisor Jonathan Feiner, who spoke at an Asia Society Forum on Thursday, the New York Times reported that the regime had, quote, chosen to continue going down a very negative path. Daniel Russell, a former senior official at the U.S. State Department, also said that preparation should be made for the possibility of shocking kinetic action, with the leader seemingly intent on a strike that goes beyond North Korea's shelling of the South's Yeonpyeong Island in 2010. According to a report released by the conservative U.S. think tank, the Heritage Foundation, the regime could make use of nuclear weapons more easily during a crisis. It said the regime's increasing rate and diversity of missile launches shows that Pyongyang is making significant progress toward implementing a more capable and flexible nuclear strategy. The warning comes after Pyongyang recently shifted to a policy of open hostility. The North has been more aggressive with provocations this month, with the recent firing of cruise missiles in the West Sea and the test launch of what it claimed to be a new solid-fuel hypersonic intermediate-range missile. It also fired hundreds of artillery shells off its western coast earlier in the month, prompting South Korean islanders to evacuate. The North Korean leader also called for constitutional amendments to officially label South Korea as its most hostile state. However, despite Pyongyang's hardline approach, experts say there appear to be no concrete signs that North Korea is gearing up for a major war. A U.S. official said North Korea's alleged weapons delivery to Russia, which prevents the regime from stockpiling arms, could be a sign that Kim is not planning for a major military operation. Choi Min-jung, Arirang News.
The leaders of the U.S. and Japan will be meeting this spring as Washington seeks to strengthen Indo-Pacific alliances. The White House said Thursday local time that President Joe Biden will host Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida on April 10th for an official visit to the United States. U.S. National Security spokesperson John Kirby said they will likely discuss a range of issues in Asia, including how to improve cooperation with South Korea. Seoul, Washington, and Tokyo have been boosting efforts to handle North Korea's evolving nuclear threats and its military cooperation with Russia. U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan is in Thailand and will meet China's Foreign Minister Wang during his visit there. Their discussions could include Taiwan and conflicts in the Red Sea as they try to manage the relationship between Washington and Beijing. Kim Jong-sil has more.
U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan will meet Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi in Bangkok, according to a White House statement released on Thursday local time. The statement said the two will meet in the Thai capital on January 26th and 27th. The Chinese Foreign Ministry also released a local time statement on Friday confirming the meeting, saying Wang will be in Thailand from January 26th to 29th. The White House said the meeting was a continuation of the commitment made at the summit between U.S. President Joe Biden and Chinese President Xi Jinping last November to maintain strategic communication and responsibly manage the relationship. Citing multiple U.S. officials, the Wall Street Journal reported that Sullivan and Wang will likely discuss the situation in the Red Sea, where Iranian-backed Houthi rebels are attacking commercial vessels. Sullivan recently raised the issue earlier this month in Washington with Liu Jianchao, head of the Chinese Communist Party's international department, during his U.S. visit. U.S. National Security Council spokesperson John Kirby also recently told reporters China has influence over Tehran. They have the ability to have conversations with Iranian leaders that we can't. The U.S. may call on China to use its influence and, quote, try to help stem the flow of weapons and munitions to the Houthis. Sullivan and Wang will also likely discuss Taiwan, where a presidential election recently took place. Kim Jong-sil, Arirang News.
Over in the Middle East, people in Gaza are fighting for their lives every second because of the war between Israel and Hamas, with no clear end in sight. Our Yoon hears the story from Oxfam International in Ramallah, West Bank.
An intentionally made, unlivable piece of land. This is how Dr. Hadeel Qazzaz, Oxfam's regional gender coordinator in Ramallah, currently describes the Gaza Strip.
It's a humanitarian catastrophe. It's something that have never happened in modern history, not in this scale, not in this speed, not in this way.
Since the start of the war, people in the Gaza Strip have been displaced multiple times and are evacuating to the southern part to flee the ongoing bombardment by the Israeli occupation.
First, they pushed people to 60% of the land. Now they are pushing people to less than 10% of the land of the Gaza Strip. People are squeezed like a lemon.
More than 80% of the total population seeks refuge in the southern cities of Rafah and Khan Yunis. Amid constant bombarding, leaflets fly around ordering people to evacuate, immediately turning the area into a total war zone.
So the whole family fled the house and they were running for their life. They were just running. They didn't know where to go. They didn't carry anything with them.
The biggest hospital in Khan Yunis, Nasser Hospital, is under bombardment with at least 100,000 people forced to evacuate. This is twice the number of people who have evacuated from Al-Shifa Hospital, Israel's previous target in the north of the Gaza Strip. This includes civilians who are taking shelter, injured people undergoing treatment, and doctors who are exhausted. Already, the lack of essential medication had doctors performing operations without anesthesia, including amputations and cesarean sections.
Newborn babies who die because of hyperthermia or because of starvation, because their mothers cannot nurse them. Many babies are born premature.
Many had to flee to Rafah from Khan Yunis, which is already crowded with over 1 million people. Dr. Qazzaz describes how people there are having to pitch tents anywhere they can, in the street, in basements, and under trees. And with not enough humanitarian aid for the entire population, people in Gaza are starving.
Every aspect of life in Gaza at the moment is totally destroyed. Totally.
Yoon, Arirang News.
After talks between the two main parties in Korea failed to extend the grace period of the Serious Accident Punishment Act for small companies, President Yoon expressed regret, criticizing the opposition party as irresponsible. This came via a written statement on Friday, a day after the National Assembly's last chance to extend the grace period for business owners of 49 or fewer employees. The law punishes CEOs and owners for industrial accidents that lead to death or serious injury, with up to 1 year in prison or a fine of around $749,000. The ruling People Power Party and the president believe these companies are unprepared, while the opposition demands more government measures, such as an industrial safety agency and increased funding. Now moving on to the Thursday's shocking attack on Bae Hyun-jin, a lawmaker from South Korea's ruling People Power Party. Bae remains at Suncheonhan University Hospital, where she was transferred shortly after being struck on the head with a rock by a 15-year-old assailant. She remains conscious and her injury is not believed to be life-threatening. But one of her aides has said she's experiencing pain and dizziness. Meanwhile, the assailant is currently under investigation and says that the attack was a random crime after encountering Pae on the street. He was placed under emergency hospitalization on Friday morning by the police and had reportedly said during the questioning that he'd been waiting for a doctor's order that would admit him to a closed psychiatric ward due to a depression relapse. And this shocking incident occurred just 3 weeks after a separate assault on the chairman of the main opposition Democratic Party, Lee Jae-myung. With election campaigns coming up, there are growing calls for additional safety measures. Correspondent Lee Si-hoo reports.
Repeated attacks on politicians in South Korea are causing its political circle to call for better safety measures. On Friday, a day after the attack on ruling People Power Party representative Bae Hyun-jin and just 75 days before the general election, during which lawmakers will be meeting many people outside the confines of the National Assembly, lawmakers, regardless of their affiliation, share their concerns on violence against politicians. PPP floor leader Yoon Jae-ok said it was likely that this kind of incident would recur unless South Korean politics cease spreading hatred.
Our democracy will be suffocated by rampant violence if we do not take fundamental measures right now and make joint efforts for our entire political community.
On Monday, PPP members of the National Assembly Public Administration and Security Committee will meet with National Police Agency Commissioner General Yoon to discuss further protection measures. The DP, whose chairman Lee Jae-myung was attacked by a knife-wielding assailant just 3 weeks ago, also spoke out against hate.
The Democratic Party opposes all forms of violence and terrorism that threaten democracy. In addition, we'll expand our solidarity with people who oppose hate.
The party held a meeting on Friday of its committee dedicated to coming up with measures against what they call political terrorism, which was established soon after the attack on Lee. It suggested forming a multi-partisan assembly-wide committee to discuss measures to prevent political acts of terror. Meanwhile, the NPA assembled a 27-person team to investigate the recent attack. Police are also operating a protection team for leaders of the main rival parties, the PPP's Han Dong-un and DP's Lee. The agency is also considering providing special protection for two other major active politicians, Lee Jun-seok and Lee Na-gyun. Lee Si-hoo, Arirang News.
The U.S. economy fared tangibly better than widely forecast in the fourth quarter of last year, led by consumer spending. Lee Seung-jae has the numbers.
According to the U.S. Commerce Department on Thursday, the U.S. economy grew at a faster pace than expected, growing at a 3.3% annualized rate in the fourth quarter of last year. The figure beat the Wall Street consensus estimate of a 2% gain. The U.S. economy for all of 2023 grew at a 2.5% annualized pace, also well ahead of the Wall Street outlook and better than the 1.9% increase in 2022. The U.S. Bureau of Economic Analysis said that the increase in real GDP reflected increases in consumer spending, exports, state and local government spending, non-residential fixed investment, federal government spending, private inventory investment, and residential fixed investment. The latest data from the Commerce Department also showed that U.S. consumer prices have been easing. Consumer prices in the fourth quarter of last year rose at a 1.7% annual rate, down from 2.6% in the third quarter. Core inflation came in at a 2% annual rate. Meanwhile, the European Central Bank decided on Thursday to freeze all three key interest rates for the third straight time after its last hike in September, keeping the benchmark deposit facility rate at 4%. The The interest rate on the main refinancing operations and the interest rates on the marginal lending facility were also kept at a 4.50% and 4.75% respectively. ECB President Christine Lagarde said the ECB board believed any talk of cutting rates was premature, given the uncertain economic outlook and risk of wage growth pushing inflation higher in the first quarter. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
OpenAI CEO Sam Altman has held meetings with leaders of South Korea's Samsung Electronics and SK hynix to discuss plans for an AI chip venture. Altman toured Samsung Electronics' Pyeongtaek complex, the production site of advanced memory semiconductors such as HBMs, on Friday morning and met with leaders of the company's semiconductor divisions. And in the afternoon, he has reportedly held discussions with SK hynix's president and CEO Kwang No-jong. The visit comes as the ChatGPT founder looks to establish a new venture that includes building a network of semiconductor factories as well as partnering with existing chip-making firms. Samsung's latest smartphone, the Galaxy S24, has broken the company's domestic pre-order record for the series. The firm said on Friday that over 1.2 million pre-orders came in during the past week, with more than 60% for its top-of-the-line Ultra model. Given that the Galaxy S23 sold just over 1.09 million phones during the pre-order period, anticipation is high for this new record-breaking model, which Samsung claims is the world's first AI phone. It'll be available in stores across the world starting on the 31st. Time for our weekly arts and culture segment. We have our culture correspondent Song Yujin in the studio. Welcome back, Yujin.
Great to be back, Chongmin.
What do you have for us today?
Well, Chongmin, we're exactly halfway through the 2024 Gangwon Winter Youth Olympic Games, and as you know, we're seeing more thrilling performances from the young athletes every day. Now, so far, we've mainly focused on the achievements of Team Korea, but today I want to turn the spotlight on some incredible athletes from other countries who are making history. Let's first take a look. Jonathan Lurimi's silver medal at Gangwon 2024 is not just his first Olympic medal. It's also Tunisia's first Winter Olympic medal. The 17-year-old bobsledder is one of 3 athletes writing history at the 2024 Gangwon Youth Winter Olympic Games. Tunisia is among the 5 countries making their Winter Olympic debuts.
Oh, it's a crazy feeling. Unbelievable. I didn't think it was possible to go this far when I started with the sport, and now I hope I admired people from the country, from Tunisia, and hope I'm being an idol for them to try winter sports so that it can be bigger in Tunisia.
Jonathan's journey with bobsleigh began through the Pyeongchang 2018 Legacy Foundation's New Horizons Academy.
Athletes from countries that don't really have winters can't really give winter sports a try. But the Olympics should be something everyone can enjoy. Projects like the New Horizon Academy help these athletes learn winter sports and pursue their dreams. Later, they could become Winter Olympic ambassadors in their own countries.
Established in 2019, the Pyeongchang 2018 Legacy Foundation aims to preserve competition venues and teach Olympic values to the next generation. In 2022, its New Horizons Academy invited some 100 athletes from 27 countries, mainly from Africa, South America, and Southeast Asia, to Korea.
We actually had them try every different winter sport. And every time they did a sport, we kind of measured their performances. And then after the 2-week program, we invited them back in the winter, but this time we designated sports for them.
Training camps were held every summer and winter leading up to the Gangwon 2024 qualification period last year. In December, 25 athletes, including Jonathan, qualified for the games. Also among them is Thai bobsledder Agnes Kampeol, who won silver at the women's monobob this time. Now, with less than a week remaining until the games draw to a close, the project has set its sights on a bigger goal.
She's starting next month some of these kids, some of these young athletes, we're going to start training for Milano 2026.
That, of course, includes Jonathan.
Of course, I want to be in the big Olympics, the Milano Cortina, hopefully. I'm going to try everything that I can, work hard to qualify for that. And
Helping these athletes realize their dreams, the New Horizons Academy shows that nothing is impossible.
I believe. So you have to believe too, and do what you can do, work hard, and you will achieve what you can.
Dreams do come true. Right. And Eugene, I heard there's another project that 2018 Pyeongchang Legacy Foundation is working on to make winter sports more accessible.
You're right, Chong-min. So just this Wednesday, the foundation signed a memorandum of understanding with Gangwon Province, Pyeongchang County, also the International Bobsleigh and Skeleton Federation and the Korea Bobsleigh and Skeleton Federation. Now, according to the agreement, the IBSF will open its Asia office and an academy dedicated to training referees and coaches in sliding sports in Pyeongchang County. And also the county's Alpensia Sliding Center will host the IBSF World Cup and Asian Cup races in the near future.
Sounds exciting. And Eugene, with only a week left until the Gangwon 2024 closes, would you give us an update about Team Korea's performances?
Sure. So as of today, Team Korea has won 3 gold, 5 silver, and 4 bronze medals. Another silver medal was added by Yoon Shin-hee and Lee Yoon-seung in the freestyle skiing mixed team dual moguls. But this is not all. We've got some exciting medal favorites competing throughout the weekend and into next week. For example, snowboarder Lee Chae-woon, who won his first gold just yesterday. We also have figure skaters Kim Hyun-kyung and Shin Ji-ah, who are really aiming to rewrite Korea's Olympic history by medaling in both the men's individual and women's individual events.
Fingers crossed. Thanks, Eugene.
Thank you.
The cold gradually receded today ahead of the weekend. It was a little cold this morning, but the temperatures rose above freezing for the first time in 5 days. There will be no severe cold this weekend in generally sunny weather. As winter weather continues at the levels of previous years, it will be easier to do outdoor activities this weekend. Dry weather advisories are in effect on the East Coast areas. As the atmosphere is dry with gusty winds blowing, please pay special attention to fire prevention. Inland regions will see minus figures for the morning. Chuncheon will be cold at minus 8 degrees Celsius. Highs in Seoul will get up to 3 degrees, Gwangju and Daegu 7 degrees Celsius. In Gangwon Province, where the Youth Olympic Games are being held, daytime temperatures will stay above freezing throughout the weekend. Until next week, winter weather of seasonal norms without cold waves is expected to continue. That's all for Korea. Here are the weather conditions around the world.
That is Newscenter for tonight. Thank you for watching. A panel session coming up.